Yeah. Dave Graney and Clare Moore, welcome back to Australian Musician.
Hi, how are you going?
Hello, Australian musician.
It's been 30 years since the release of your album Night of the Wolverine. You've just released a double vinyl version of it, the first time in vinyl. You're playing the album live from July 28th. When you think back at making the album in 93, what are your strongest memories?
Oh, well, it was quite a short recording session, so but we were very well prepared, is what I remember.
Yeah. We had rehearsed it and written the songs. It was one of those situations where we'd had years to get this song together, this album together, hadn't we? Whereas the second album you do with a record company often is having to be done within a year or so. This one had like 3 or 4 years.
It had
build up,
but it was kind of our fifth or so album.
Yeah, it wasn't our first album, but there was a long break before, in between the last one.
It was the end of a quite frustrating period where we'd been working with a British label called Fire, and we'd recorded a great album for them called I Was the Hunter and I Was the Prey in 1990, and then that took until 1992 to come out, just due to a distribution company going bust in the UK that affected a lot of indie labels. And then we did a live album called Lure of the Tropics, and that came out in 1992. So, and Night of the Wolverine was recorded at the end of 1992. So it was quite a creative flow from us at the time, but each record was distinctly different. It was 3 albums in about 6 months came out. But yeah, we wanted to work with Tony Cohen. It was a great positive period, don't you think, in Australian music?
Yeah, well, he had just worked with the Bad Seeds and the Cruel Sea before he got to our record, and so he was working around the clock, week in, week out. And we also recorded down in the South Bank, where the Atlantis studios were near what is now the casino in Melbourne, and that was nice to be. We lived near there too, didn't we? And so we were kind of just, it was an easy sort of thing for us to do. Everything fell into place. It was one of those situations.
We started it with one day at Armstrong's AAV with Tony, and then overdubbing and mixing for a few days at Atlantis Studios.
God, we were lucky to get into Armstrong's. Wow.
Fantastic studio.
I don't even know how we did that, because that sort of thing would have been so expensive.
Yeah.
I got a publishing deal with Universal, with Roger Grierson, and spent the advance on making the album, and so we had enough money for one day in AAV and the rest, and then we were going to go on tour with Hunters and Collectors, which was a big thing, because previous to that we'd only been playing in the inner city of Melbourne and Sydney. So
in the top 10 albums in 1993, there were some god-awful albums like Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell 2, Breathless by Kenny G, So Far So Good by Bryan Adams, River of Dreams, Billy Joel. Outside of that, grunge was just emerging. So to have this intelligent, thoughtful, quality album come out was a bit of a savior for discerning music fans. In general, do you take much notice of what's going on around you in the music scene at the time of writing, and you either influenced by it or reacting against it?
I think leading up to it, I remember we listened to Katie Lang's Ingenue quite a bit, which was pretty much her album of whether it was 1992 or 91, but that was her breakthrough album, and it was full of really delicate arrangements and textures, like vibes and piano and vocals and percussion. Not a real rock production. We listened to it for the textures and where the voice was. It was so well done, and So I think that was the main thing, and there were other things around the time, hits like Chris Isaac's Wicked Game, and
Oh yeah.
kind of things with a lot of space and texture. I suppose.
And also, we had that situation where we had a band with similar lineup, like piano, one guitar, bass, and drums, and that was working well in the UK. And then we had to leave the UK, come home right when a record was being released, because our work permits had fallen over. So we sort of had to move back to Melbourne, and you were approached by Robin to play piano, and so we had the same band lineup as we did and having a piano, and also Robin played violin. It just changed everything. Then it's so different to having two guitars, and you've got all this space. And the other thing is we were able to, we didn't have, our bass player wanted to come out from the UK and live here, but he couldn't get here. So we had to sort of play without him for a while. And we worked out a way to be able to play with piano and no bass. And so some of Night of the Wolverine has no bass on it, for example, because of that. And then we just sort of managed to make it work. And then we really liked that sound. Yeah.
We did different residencies. We played a lot at the Lounge in Swanston Street in Melbourne on a weeknight, and we played a lot at the Piano Bar of the Prince of Wales, and just kind of got it together. And then in about June of 1992, we opened for Bob Dylan. I think it was about June at the Palais, and we had all these songs that we were eventually recorded, months later for this album. We did most of them opening for Bob Dylan because it was a rare opportunity to be out of a pub and play in a theatre, and that really, doing things like that really got you into commitment and confidence in the material. Otherwise, there was the Cruel Sea happening around the same time too, and their music was full of different influences and space. And I guess it wasn't like a lot of Australian music was all about hard rock and loud guitars. And we'd spent so long in the UK, we'd listen to a lot of black music because that's more available and mainstream there, isn't it? And it's not about guitars; it's about voices and grooves and production. So we went into the kind of grunge thing, which happened, just around the corner at all. We'd been in a loud rock band.
We'd been in a loud rock band, that's right. And because of the instrumentation too, I started to play a lot with brushes and, do brush and rim shot, lots of rim shots, that sort of thing, because I knew I had to be a bit quieter when there was no bass. If you don't have bass there, it's sort of a bit tricky. And I think that was, before anyone else was doing that live. I mean, having said that, when we went on tour with Hunters and Collectors, we had to beef it up a bit because some of the audience in some of the towns weren't keen to hear something so quiet, because it was the pub rock sort of era, and so we had to kind of move to our louder tracks.
Yeah, we couldn't. We went out on tour when it came out, and we couldn't actually play it.
Yeah.
In the venues. So 30 years later, we get to play it.
Dave, I was reading in your book, 1001 Australian Nights, that the first time you were struck by the word Wolverine was when you saw it in American crime writer James Ellroy's book, Blood Moon. Are you equally inspired by literature and film as you are by music?
Yeah, I think this album to me is, people say it's quite emotional record, which is unusual for my songwriting usually, but perhaps it is. It has a lot of songs, lyrics I wrote from in the UK when I, thinking about Southeast and South Australia and that kind of thing, mentioning towns like Keith and Bordertown, but yeah, it has lots of literature and film references, like Maggie Cassidy is a book by Jack Kerouac, and but the song is more about an affinity for his kind of blue collar tone and voice. How he wasn't from an academic world; he was from a world of work and football, playing football, and you know, street level kind of language. And there's a song, Night of the Wolverine has a lot of references to the song itself, to Lenny Bruce, and the song Have One of Those Lives mentions the 1930s American actor Wallace Beery, and Magambo is a film with Ava Gardner, and yeah, it has a lot of, it's a bit of a full of my inner fantasy world of creativity, I guess, and not so much reality.
Yeah. Do you have similar tastes in literature?
As then?
No, Claire and yourself.
Oh, right.
Dave, you read a lot of French language stuff, but no, not really. I still like reading crime novels, really. I read a lot of Australian ones.
Gary Dish.
I really like him.
I like to read classics like Nabokov, and yeah, just and a Welsh writer, John Cowper Powys, or John Cooper Powys is my favorite, and Iris Murdoch, and lots of female writers, Jenny Diskey, and Doris Lessing, and Lucia Berlin, lots of female writers, actually.
Yeah. Getting back to the album, I believe the title track, despite having 3 parts, went down pretty quickly in the studio.
Yeah, we started to play it live about a year before we recorded it, and I kept it. Then I said we should stop playing it because it'll just get brutalized by playing it in pubs and become too, too macho. So it's quite a delicate song. Yeah, it's got 3 parts, and we recorded it all. We rehearsed it. It has a dramatic kind of key change, and it's not edited, although Tony Cohen was a fantastic with razor and glue in the old school editing. Yeah, we performed it as it is on the recording with the key change and everything.
Yeah. Your drum kit at the time, Claire, has it changed much over the years?
Well, that one, I had the kit to match the band, really, because I bought that kit in London in 1983, and it's a old 24-inch Gretsch kick drum, 18-inch floor tom, and 14 rack tom. So I got those 3, and then I just had I've got a Brady, deep Brady snare, and the kick drum just has this note, just sounds fantastic. It's yeah, so it's a 1970s Gretsch kit that I always record with.
Yeah. And as to Rod's guitar, Rod always played, and he still plays, a Stratocaster into a Marshall with a quad box, which was different to a lot of the Fender players at the time. And he used a lot of delay and reverb, really clean sound. But on this tour, he's also playing a Telecaster, Candy Apple Red Telecaster, and he bought a Takamine 12-string acoustic. He might have another guitar he sometimes plays too, but
acoustic,
yeah. Electric, semi-acoustic, yeah, hollow body. It's
So,
mainly a Strat he plays.
So will you play these songs as they were recorded?
Yeah, we'll play it in sequence in one set, and then we do another set of songs from that period. Because when people talk about Night of the Wolverine with us, I think they're talking about a period of 3 to 4 years, with the album that came after it was called You Want to Be There, But You Don't Want to Travel. That came out the year after. And that had a song, I'm Gonna Release Your Soul, and The Stars, Baby, and You Want to Be Loved. And that was really like a product of getting out and playing our music in a more rock and roll way. And then we did an album, The Soft and Sexy Sound, in 1995, which was our most sort of successful album that had Rock and Rollers Were All Hired, Apollo 69, and The Birds and the Goats, and I'm Not Afraid to Be Heavy on it, and Morrison Floor Show. And so we'll be playing songs like that. Feeling Kind of Sporty came from our last album, and we're doing another song from that, The Devil Drives album.
Yeah. And you've released double vinyl. It looks like there was a hell of a lot of work that went into creating that.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find a copy of it.
Yes, it was quite an interesting thing to do, because it wasn't actually released on vinyl originally. So it's that's why it's double.
To remaster it, and sorry, Claire.
That's okay.
But we got a lot of ephemeral kind of Polaroids and pictures and stuff from the session, as well as it was a nice project to do something from the period with the lyric sheet and more kind of ephemeral stuff. And we had to do a double album because we worked pretty much in the world of CDs, and so CDs had more, you could put more songs on them than an album, but there were too many for a single album. It was 53, 54 minutes. So most albums were like 30 to 40 minutes. Otherwise, the sound begins to deteriorate. I still like CDs, you know, like I think they're great, and you can play them in your car. But quite happy to do vinyl. So many people have asked us over the years, and we thought, oh, if we're going to do one, we'd make sure it was a quality release.
Yeah. You've also put out a book of lyrics. There he goes with his eyes out.
There he goes, eye out, yeah.
Putting that book together, did you make any observations about your writing, how it's changed over the years?
I go through the songs. It's like from 1980 to 2023, and most of the songs have notes at the bottom of them of what chords I was using and what I was thinking of, and little kind of production things we use, which, because production is as much as chords and words as how a song turns out, and the environment it's all done in. And I always just wanted to have a book, like a songbook, and I did at this period in the Coral Snakes, when I was hot, I wanted to put out a songbook with chords and lyrics, but it got turned into something else, images and text, in a book called It Is Written, Baby, which was quite good, but it wasn't a songbook. And I still haven't done a songbook, with the treble clef and everything.
Oh, because back in the day, I remember when Night of the Wolverine came out, the publishing company said that there was always, in those days, someone who actually wrote the sheet music out for everything that got released. Have you heard that? Is that true?
I don't
agree.
I remember almost with every album that came out, there'd be a songbook.
Yeah, well, except Australian ones. You didn't see that many. You might see sheet music for a single, but not necessarily a whole book. I thought, oh, if it's there anyway, we should just put it together and make a book out of it.
We collect songbooks, and my mother played piano as a young woman growing up in Narracourt, and I inherited her stack of songbooks, and they're really exotic things, because that was in the world before commercially recorded music, really, when everybody could play a piano or wanted to, and they'd buy the sheet music. So it's kind of a lost world. But I go to our local music store, Upway Music, has a good songbook stand, because there's lots of music taught in high schools now, and yeah, there's lots of Australian songbooks.
Are there?
Yeah,
Are there?
everybody's got one except for me.
Except you. You're going to have to do one. Oh no.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
probably a Cosmic Psycho's songbook, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny
I'm
though.
not saying
isn't
they
it?
don't deserve one, but you know.
Well, you know, when you look up, you've got the book and it's got James Brown or something.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you look it up and it's just like one chord, the whole song.
Right. James
Like, how do
Brown
you play
notation is the best.
It's
Just
really funny. Then you
beats.
get then you get Steely Dan, and it's got up the top, it's got every single chord known to man in one song.
Including the one they made up called it's called an M chord or something. Yeah, that's what I want.
You want that?
That would be success.
So do you agonize over lyrics? How long can a song sit around before you're done with it?
I don't agonize, no. I think lyrics is all about habit or words, you know, if you you know, I think it's just about having a voice for, you know, that you can, because there's some writers, for instance, who can write words but in conversation in a book, but then you get people trying to say them and they don't work. You know, it needs someone else to come in and pare them down a bit. So I think you just need a voice and a flow, and so I got a flow for words, for my words, and so I have lots of songs that I'm recording at the moment. We did a great album last year called In a Mistly that had a lot of great rock songs on it, and I'm usually like in the idea that you should do an album every year. So probably next year I'll be bringing an album or two out, because I've got a lot of songs I'm recording and playing with at the moment. But no, I don't agonize. Sorry, to answer your question.
Yeah. So have you started rehearsals for this tour yet?
Yeah, last week, and we're sort of, Robin lives in Canberra, so we're meeting up with him this Friday when we're doing a session at the ABC, local ABC Melbourne, and then we'll rehearse a bit with him, do some more, and then we meet up in Canberra, rehearse in the venue for a gig the next day in a theatre. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you'll be able to get your costumes together, Claire.
What? Because it's in the theatre.
In
the theatre. Oh, right. I'll go through the costume department. I'll find something for you, Dave. Don't worry.
So the tour starts on July 28th. There's the double vinyl. There's the book of lyrics. It's all happening. I suppose that's all available on the website.
We have a Bandcamp page, and you can get to it through our website or any of our social media stuff. Yeah.
And then we look forward to the songbook.
One day, Greg, one day I'll be accepted into the songbook section of the music stores of Australia.
That'd be great.
Then into the high school brains of kids around Australia.
Yeah, I still haven't given up on the idea of a pianola roll as well.
Oh, yes. Pianola album. Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, Dave and Claire, it's been great to catch up, and we look forward to the tour.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you, Australian musician.